What's up, y'all? When I was a kid, I have a distinct memory of sitting in church and being like, man, this would be a lot cooler if we were talking about Lord of the Rings. And I was like, man, maybe I'd be up there talking if I could talk about Lord of the Rings. Anyway, Kate and I just watched the Two Towers Extended Edition. My favorite. I've probably watched that one 40 times, especially in middle school. Anyway, I wanted to read from The Two Towers, The Road to Isengard, page 723. Oh my gosh, this thing's pretty big. Uh, but that's 723 of the three books. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. I've been thinking about Saruman a lot, partially because Palantir, Peter Thiel's company, Palantir is like the evil, orb, scrying orb that Saruman uses to talk to Sauron, and it's like just blatantly evil. And a lot of these evil, oh crap, what do these losers call themselves? Like the dark, it's like Yarvin and stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter. These Peter Thiel types, very influential in the current Trump administration, unfortunately. But a lot of these assholes use a lot of Lord of the Rings references. And it sucks so much because even Palantir is so wild that that's the company name and it's plainly what they do. But I just wanted to read the little passage in The Two Towers, which is when I think it's just Gandalf, but maybe also some of the guys from Rohan are coming into Isengard to see Saruman, and I think their hackles are a little raised that this dude might be evil. But as it stands, he's still the chief of the wizards, and Gandalf is coming to check up what's happening. And so Saruman is kind of this super industrial force that is doing a lot of extraction and a lot of not good stuff. And so I think this little passage, when it's all the amazing building and all the amazing industry that's going on, before seeing the rotten underbelly of that bad guy Saruman. So this is going to be several paragraphs. It'll take a while, but strap in. Hopefully this is less than 10 minutes. Wait. Okay. Beneath the mountain's arm, within the wizard's veil, through years unencountered, had stood that ancient place that men called Isengard. Partly it was shaped in the making of the mountains, but mighty works the men of Westernese had wrought there of old, and Saruman had dwelt there long, and had not been idle. This was its fashion, while Saruman was at his height, accounted by many the chiefs of wizards. A great ring wall of stone, like towering cliffs, stood out from the shelter of the mountainside, from which it ran and then returned again. One entrance only was there, made in it, a great arch delved of the southern wall. Here through the black rock a long tunnel had been hewn, closed at the other end with mighty doors of iron. They were so wrought and poised upon their huge hinges, posts of steel driven into the living stone, that when unbarred they could be moved with a light thrust of the arms, noiselessly. One who passed in and came at length out of the echoing tunnel beheld a plain, a great circle, somewhat hollowed like a vast shallow bowl. A mile it measured from rim to rim. Once it had been green and filled with avenues and groves of fruitful trees, watered by streams that flowed from the mountains to a lake, but no green thing grew there in the latter days of Saruman. The roads were paved with stone flags, dark and hard, and besides their borders, instead of trees, there marched long lines of pillars, some of marble, some of copper, and of iron, joined by heavy chains. Many houses there were, chambers, halls, and passages, cut and tunneled back into the walls upon their inner side, so that all the open circle was overlooked by countless windows and dark doors. Thousands could dwell there, workers, servants, slaves, and warriors with great store of arms. Wolves were fed and stabled in the deep dens beneath. The plains, too, were bored and delved. Shafts were driven deep into the ground. Their upper ends were covered by low mounds and domes of stone, so that in the moonlight the ring of Isengard looked like a graveyard of unquiet dead. For the ground trembled. The shafts ran down by many slopes and spiral stairs to caverns far under. There Saruman had treasures, storehouses, armories, smithies, and great furnaces. Iron wheels revolved there endlessly, and hammers thudded. At night, plumes of vapor streamed from the vents, lit from beneath with a red light, or blue, or venomous green. To the center of all roads, beneath their chains, there stood a tower of marvelous shape. It was fashioned by the builders of old, who smoothed the ring of Isengard. And yet it seemed a thing not made by the craft of men, but riven from the bones of the earth in the ancient torment of the hills. A peak and isle of rock it was, black and gleaming hard. 4 mighty piers of many-sided stone were welded into one. But near the summit they opened into gaping horns, their pinnacles sharp as the point of spears, keen-edged as knives. Between them was a narrow space, and thereupon a floor of polished stone, written with strange signs. A man might stand 500 feet above the plain. This was the Orthanc, the citadel of Saruman, the name of which had, by design or chance, a twofold meaning. For in the Elvish speech, Orthanc signifies Mount Fang, but in the language of the mark of the old, the cunning mind. A strong place and wonderful was Isengard, and long it had been beautiful. And there great lords had dwelt, the wardens of Gondor upon the west, and wise men that watched the stars. But Saruman had slowly shaped it into his shifting purposes, and made it better, as he thought, being deceived. For all those arts and subtle devices for which he forsook his former wisdom, which fondly he imagined were his own, came but from Mordor, so that what he made was not only a little copy, a child's model of that vast fortress, armory, prison, furnace of great power, Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower, which suffered no rival, and laughed at the flattery, biding its time, secure in its pride and its immeasurable strength. This was the stronghold of Saruman, as fame reported it, for within living memory the men of Rohan had not passed its gates, save perhaps a few, such as Wormtongue, who came in secret and told no man what they saw. Damn, that's a cool description of Isengard. And I just am thinking intellectual dark web. That was like the all the conservative thinkers and writers that are very influential, especially with Peter Thiel. He like funds a lot of them. But Peter Thiel is Saruman, obviously. But the ents are coming. We gotta hold out hope. The ents are fucking coming, dude. And if you've seen that movie, you know it's about to go down. All right. Let's get these dams yanking. Okay, bye.